Don't underestimate the support there is for the Labour Party. Don't underestimate the anger there is out there at the levels of inequality and injustice within our society. We'll expose all of that. That's where our case is very, very strong.
Could you answer yes or no, please?
Listen, you've asked me the question many, many times. How many times do I have to tell you? We're taking our case out there to win because we believe we can win.
Thank you very much.
You'll be leader in 2020 without...
I'm carrying on as leader because I'm determined that we will deliver social justice in this country. We will end the misery of people sleeping on our streets and children growing up in disgusting and disgraceful poverty and growing levels of inequality promoted by a Tory government that frankly doesn't care.
Definitely the leader in 2020.
I've given you a very, very clear answer, yes.
Mr. Corbyn, it feels like you're running away from the media. Can't you stop and
Why don't we just talk?
Jeremy,
I want to arrange an interview, speak to my press office. Thank you.
Jeremy, please don't. And we said no. So now we're asking them.
And my question to you is, if you're so concerned about what the Conservative government is doing to Britain, wouldn't it be an idea to step aside and allow someone else to lead Labour?
You're obsessed with this question, if I may say, so utterly obsessed with it.
Isn't it an important obsession to have a strong opposition in Britain? And people are asking whether you can provide that.
If you bothered to report what we were doing. If you bothered to report what John Ashworth is doing on the health service, if you bothered to report what Angela Rayner is doing and saying on schools, if you bother to report what the Labour Party is actually saying, it's your responsibility to make sure that the opposition voice is heard as well as the government's voice. It's your failings.
I can tell that you're frustrated with the number of times you asked about your leadership, but I guess that gets to the heart of my question, which is, aren't you just fed up of this?
The heart of your question is that you haven't got a question.
Colleagues should back him or Harriet Harman over the government's welfare cuts.
Well, there's a meeting of the Parliamentary Labour Party this evening, and I hope they will decide, if there's to be a decision made there, that we should be opposing what the government is doing.
So you've got no problem with somebody coming from abroad as a migrant with 5 kids, say, and claiming 5 lots of child tax credits, 5 lots of child benefits, housing benefit,
people and children
no limits on their benefits.
People and children come first. The amount of money involved is not that great when compared to the total budget as a whole. What we're doing is going in a wrong direction by impoverishing children of large families, and particularly in London, where the benefit cap has had a devastating effect on people in the private rented sector.
What rate of income tax is too high?
The rate of income tax ought to be set on the ability to pay it, and at the moment the top rate is too low. I would go 50% and possibly slightly higher, but I'm actually more interested in collecting uncollected corporation tax and corporate taxation. Can I finish? The real issue is corporate tax fraud across the world.
But the bigger point is how much inequality we are prepared to live with in this country, isn't it? You know, should we accept the existence of super rich people? Or would there be no super rich people in Britain if you were Prime Minister?
Are super rich people actually happy with being super rich?
No, I'm asking you, would you end them?
I would want the super rich to be able to pay properly their share of the needs of the rest of the community.
So they wouldn't be super rich anymore, would they?
But the issue is actually that there's a crossover between income tax and high income people over towards the corporate tax sector, and they often evade taxation by that means.
Let's briefly talk about foreign affairs. Why did you call Hamas and Hezbollah your friends?
What I did was spoke at a meeting in which I said I wanted all people involved in the Middle East issue to come together and be able to have a discussion, to be able to discuss. Can you allow me to finish? Do you mind?
Yeah, but I asked you a question and you're ignoring it.
No, I'm not ignoring the question. If you'd give me a minute, I'll answer it. The point is this. Listen for a minute, if you don't mind. I spoke at a meeting about the Middle East crisis in Parliament. And there were people there from Hezbollah, and I said I welcomed our friends from Hezbollah to have a discussion and a debate. And I said I wanted Hamas to be part of that debate. I have met Hamas in Lebanon, and I've met Hezbollah in this country in Lebanon. I've also met...
Are they your friends or not?
Can I finish?
Are they your friends or not?
Can I finish? I've also met...
Well, you can't if it's a long answer.
Look, the issue is this. You are not prepared to discuss the whole issue of the Middle East. You're not prepared to discuss the wider question. There is not going to be any peace process unless there is talks involving Israel, Hezbollah and Hamas. And I think everybody knows that.
But as you know, the controversy is around you calling them friends. And you've explained, I think, that when you said that, you didn't mean that they're friends.
I used it in a collective way at a discussion, and you're trying to trivialise the whole issue of the Middle East. You're trying to trivialise the whole discussion about how you bring about a long-term peace process.
I'm very happy to have long conversations with you.
Well, why don't we have them then?
And you've been on this programme talking about the Middle East many times.
Well, not very recently, actually. You haven't had me on for a long time.
But this quote about friends has surfaced, and that's what I was asking you about, and you've had your opportunity to...
Well, thanks for the tabloid journalism.
To answer. That's not tabloid journalism.
Yes, it is.
That's putting your own words back.
It's tabloid journalism where you're evading. You are evading asking me to give an opportunity to discuss the wider issue of the Middle East. Because all you're interested in...
What I was going to ask you next was something rather more important. No,
it's tabloid journalism and you know it.
Well, it's absolutely not. I was asking you about your own words, and if you're not prepared to defend your own words, then that's fine.
I'm quite prepared to defend my own words. I've just done so.
We're just going to keep walking. I mean, if you would simply answer the question, we'd stop.
Tommy, there's people bothering me.
We're not bothering you. We're from the press.
Hi, Tommy. How you doing?
I'm bringing the car around here.
Jeremy, we're not bothering you. We're just asking legitimate questions about your shadow cabinet appointments. Is this not what you expected as leader of the opposition? At what point do you intend to start talking to the media? Is it true that you've pulled out of an interview with the Today programme tomorrow?